Chapter 1731. The one that will emerge as victor. 1. Dongfang Xian silently and stealthily approached Su Luo. His speed was very slow, with soft and quiet steps while holding his breath. He didn't give off a tiny bit of sound, let alone to say. He hid away the spirit power around him, so he didn't bring about any fluctuations in the spirit force. Right now, Su Luo was completely immersed in joy and the spirit force that the absorbing spirit crystal brought her to frantically advance. She didn't sense that viper-like figure gradually getting closer to her. Not only was Su Luo full of joy, moreover, most of her attention was on cultivating. Therefore, it was hard for her to sense Dongfang Xian's actions. Dongfang Xian wasn't foolish. He didn't use a direct line to draw close to Su Luo. Rather, he wound around in a circle. In a roundabout way, he moved to a position behind Su Luo, then slowly drew close to her. One step, another step. Finally, when he was 20 meters away from Su Luo, his footsteps slowly stopped. His sinister lips hooked into an apathetic sneer. Su Luo, absorbing spirit crystal is mine. Dongfang Xian laughed secretly in his heart. To get absorbing spirit crystal and not let Su Luo give off any noise. The best way was to assassinate Su Luo. Moreover, he must succeed in one strike. Otherwise, if Nangong Luyan was to discover it, Dongfang Xian wouldn't be able to handle the consequences. After making this decision in his heart, the gaze Dongfang Xian used to look at Su Luo had an even stronger killing intent. A distance of 20 meters for him was merely a blink of an eye's time, so he didn't need to face the risk of being sensed by Su Luo to advance forward. Right now, Su Luo was completely submerged in the joy of cultivation and unaware that a viper was heading towards her with his bloody mouth wide open. She only knew that she must do her best to grasp every minute to cultivate and cultivate again. To advance, and advance some more. Because Su Luo knew that in this lifetime, there might never be such an opportunity to advance so quickly. She had a premonition that when she had completely absorbed that thing on her head, it might be possible for her to advance all the way to Saint rank. That was the Saint rank Ah. Even Nangong Luyan was only at the commander rank Ah, while she could break through to Saint rank in one move. How amazing a matter was this! Just when Su Luo's saliva was about to flow out while in the midst of her beautiful daydream, a clear, cold, and arrogant tone with a trace of teasing sounded in Su Luo's head. Still daydreaming? The little stone's mouth hooked into a ghost of a smile. His being awoken from the beautiful dream, Su Luo unhappily glared at the little stone. If you have words to say, spit it out. If you want to fart, then let it out. Right now, this young lady's time is more precious than the spring night of an honorable daughter from a rich family. Didn't you see that I'm almost at commander rank? In fact, Su Luo's words carried some exaggerated elements. No matter how in defiance of nature this spirit river and absorbing spirit crystal were, under the situation of just being promoted to 10th rank, how could she get promoted to commander rank in less than 2 hours? Little Stone unhappily rolled his eyes at Su Luo. Your little life is about to be gone and still have thoughts of being promoted. You must have a life to enjoy at first Ah. Hearing this, Su Luo's heart suddenly was startled. Although the words Little Stone spoke were never nice to hear, but he had a strong point that others didn't have. That was he wouldn't lie. Since he said there was danger to her life, then her life absolutely was in danger. Su Luo released a part of her consciousness and immediately sensed that faint figure not far behind her. Dongfang Xian, that person smiling coldly at her with eyes full of killing intent. Wasn't it Dongfang Xian? Su Luo's eyes suddenly contracted because she sensed that this time, Dongfang Xian had the thought of must kill her. What's going on? Has Dongfang Xian gone crazy? Such a great opportunity, and he wouldn't go properly cultivate but to come and kill her. Chapter 1732. The one that will emerge as victor. 2. But having just finished saying this, Su Luo sensed the emptiness on top of Dongfang Xian's head. Immediately, she understood. He used up his absorbing spirit crystal, so he would come and steal yours, idiot. The little stone used the gaze of beyond saving to look at Su Luo. At this moment, Su Luo's brows were tightly wrinkled. Ning and the others were using all their strength to cultivate and get promoted. If she started to fight with Dongfang Xian, it would absolutely affect them. Recklessly interrupting them would lead to serious recoil of madness. This was absolutely not a scene Su Luo wanted to see. Dongfang Xian could completely disregard Li Aochen and Luo Haoming, but Su Luo couldn't disturb Beichen Ying's group. What to do? Su Luo's mind quickly turned, searching for a way to break this pitfall. The little stone could come out, but the little stone had the same strength as Dongfang Xian. At that time, the disturbance they created would be even greater. The more Su Luo pondered, the angrier she was at Dongfang Xian. At this critical time, to disturb other people's cultivation and advancement was simply like the enmity of wiping out the entire family. However, before Su Luo thought of a way, Dongfang Xian had already launched an attack. A tiny soft sound was heard before Su Luo could return to her senses. The long sword in Dongfang Xian's hand was mere inches from Su Luo. Such a fast sword. The white light flashed so fast that a person almost couldn't react. Clang! Before Su Luo could move, Cheng Ying's sword, that had already condensed out his spirit, subconsciously rushed up to meet that ice-cold sword. The weapons directly clashed head-on. Immediately, sparks flew in all directions, and the spirit force in the surroundings surged, giving rise to waves of chaos. Su Luo noticed that not far away, Beichen Ying was affected by the fluctuations in the spirit force and directly spit out a mouthful of blood. Seeing this, Su Luo hated Dongfang Xian even more. If she had known earlier, she would have Nangong Luyun kill Dongfang Xian earlier to end all the troubles, so that he was unlikely to disturb people at a critical moment right now. Don't you just want the absorbing spirit crystal? This matter, we can discuss it. Su Luo pointed at the absorbing spirit crystal on her head and smilingly looked at Dongfang Xian. Right now, the most important thing was for her to stall for time. A trace of mockery flashed through Dongfang Xian's eyes. Absorbing spirit crystal? Okay, give the absorbing spirit crystal to me. Dongfang Xian's body moved up and flashed at a fast speed towards Su Luo. His 5 long fingers suddenly grabbed towards the top of Su Luo's head. At this time, Su Luo lifted her eyes and could clearly see the killing intent that flashed through his eyes. In an instant, Su Luo realized what he wanted wasn't just the absorbing spirit crystal. He still wanted to carry out the scheme of killing 2 birds with 1 stone and take her life. Su Luo wanted to retreat, but she couldn't use teleport in the bottom of this spirit river, so she simply couldn't retreat. There was no other way. Looked like she could only take out Elder Ancestor Mo. This thought turned in Su Luo's mind, and she made the decision. However, at this moment, one only heard a soft crash sound echo. In the next instant, Su Luo's beautiful eyes opened wide, because she suddenly saw Dongfang Xian, who was very close to her, was kicked away by a foot. Kicked him to fly out far away. Didn't need to turn her head. And Su Luo knew that the person who had such formidable power, besides Nangong Luyun, there was no one else. Slender arms wrapped around Su Luo's slender waistline. A clear and cold tone that carried traces of deep concern sounded by her ear. Girl, are you injured? Su Luo's eyes had a trace of deep concern. I'm okay. But you? The 2 people were very close to each other. Su Luo lifted her head and could feel the warm breath coming from his nose. And also because of this, Su Luo could sense the chaotic aura coming from Nangong Liyun's body. You were about to advance to the Saint rank Now like this, Su Luo looked at him anxiously, with distress in her beautiful eyes and also annoyance. Chapter 1733. The one that will emerge as Victor 3. She was very distressed for him. Clearly, he could advance, but he forcibly suppressed it for her. This would have a very bad effect on his body. What upset her was that he could always help her at the most critical time. And every time, she would bring trouble at the most critical time for him. It's nothing. First solve this scourge. Nangong Liyun's clear and cold gaze seemed to be saturated with frost, flashing with an icy cold light. His long, slender, and straight legs, step by step, walked towards Dongfang Xian. Dongfang Xian had flown out far away from being kicked. But as a whole, his strength had advanced to commander rank, and he didn't cut such a sorry figure as before. Dongfang Xian's hand covered his chest as he slowly stood up. Nangong Liuyun's icy cold gaze stared at him, and Dongfang Xian's gaze was also staring fixedly at Nangong Liuyun. Suddenly, a crazed tint flashed through Dongfang Xian's eyes. If he had cultivated using that absorbing spirit crystal on Su Luo's head, Dongfang Xian was certain he could kill Nangong Liuyun. But now he simply didn't have a grasp on this. However now, Nangong Liuyun clearly had a murderous aura. Dongfang Xian knew that if this time he doesn't use his trump card, he would die under Nangong Liuyun's hand. Third junior brother, why must you put such a hard pressure between us? Dongfang Xian covered his chest, saying this while he retreated, trying to stall for time. Why do you intentionally stir up trouble time and time again, bringing about your own destruction? Nangong Liuyun's tone was very soft, so soft like a feather. But it gave people a terrifying feeling of having their blood run cold. Dongfang Xian could feel the fear rapidly leaping up from the soles of his feet. It leaped to his chest, then spreading to the four limbs and hundreds of bones in his body. This made his body unable to suppress the slight trembling. Dongfang Xian laughed coldly. You really no longer care about the friendship from the same sect? Nangong Liuyun's eyes unblinkingly stared at him as he drew nearer step by step. If Master knows, he absolutely won't let you get away with it. Dongfang Xian slowly retreated back, his eyes flashing with a trace of panic. Nangong Liuyun calmly approached him, his gaze and expression still the same as before. Didn't you say you were going to leave me for Su Luo to personally deal with? If you kill me now, Su Luo's heart would have this unresolved knot forever. Could it be you won't even consider her? Dongfang Xian tossed out one excuse after another in front of them. You really have a lot of nonsense to say. Nangong Liuyun had a demonically charming smile. His smile was enchanting and beautiful. One only saw him stop, and his slender white as jade palm turned over, slowly beginning to form a seal. A golden light seal formed from at the bottom of his hand, finally converging to become a ball of gold light. The ball of gold light gave off deep red-hot rays of light, reflecting Dongfang Xian's deathly pale face. Dongfang Xian sucked in a breath of air. It seemed he had no choice but to show the trump card he had hidden for so long. Dragon King command, come out! Just when Nangong Liuyun shot that ball of gold light in an explosive manner towards Dongfang Xian, a gigantic shadow of a dragon roared, appearing behind Dongfang Xian's back. Roar! The gigantic shadow of a dragon gave a fierce howl, shaking the entire spirit river, giving off buzzing sounds. Waves of water surged up violently, rolling up thousands of piles of snow-like waves. One only saw the dragon open its mouth wide and swallow that ball of golden light Nangong Liuyun shot out. Actually swallowed it, Su Luo mumbled in disbelief. Before, what exactly did Dongfang Xian encounter? How was it he had so many treasures, sending one out after another like an ant you couldn't kill? Really was hateful. Su Luo's voice seemed to have woken up the quiet atmosphere. Dongfang Xian's finger pointed at Su Luo and loudly commanded, "Eat her!" Dongfang Xian had an attitude of, even if he was to die, he would take Su Luo to be buried with him. Chapter 1734. Cat Chasing a Mouse 1. Don't know for what reason this gigantic dragon would listen so obediently to Dongfang Xian's orders. Simply was, wherever he pointed, the dragon would hit there. Dongfang Xian ordered it to attack Su Luo, and it didn't stop for a moment. Its neck stretched out, tongue already appearing over Su Luo's forehead. Such quick speed, even Nangong Liuyun couldn't react. When he reacted, the gigantic dragon's tongue had already rolled towards Su Luo's head. No! Watching helplessly as Su Luo's head was about to leave her neck, Nangong Liuyun was scared and furious at the same time. A feeling of panic rushed towards his forehead like the tide. He subconsciously smashed a fist heavily towards the gigantic dragon, trying to stop its action. But the gigantic dragon's speed was simply too fast. Although it rigidly received a fist from Nangong Luyun, but its tongue still rolled towards Su Luo head. Ah! After the shadow over her head scattered, Su Luo extended a hand to touch her own neck. It was still actually standing steadily on her head. Just now, she was scared witless. She even forgot to release Elder Ancestor Mo. But where was the absorbing spirit crystal? After Su Luo returned to her senses, she was almost stupefied, because that pile of yellow on top of her head actually disappeared. When she lifted her head to look at that gigantic dragon, Su Luo's mood immediately became complicated, because she could clearly see the gigantic dragon's mouth was moving. Clearly, it was swallowing something. Su Luo subconsciously shouted towards Nangong Luyun, quickly snatched the absorbing spirit crystal back. She only had such a little bit remaining. If it was swallowed by the gigantic dragon, then wouldn't her beautiful dream of advancing come to a sudden end? Su Luo felt her entire heart was about to break into pieces. Nangong Luyun, seeing Su Luo was safe, his heart that was tightly clenched could be put down. However, without waiting for Nangong Luyun to launch an attack, the gigantic dragon had already swooped down towards him. The gigantic dragon's strength was formidable, was practically evenly matched with Nangong Luyun. Then if you were to add its valiant, strong body, Nangong Luyun might not necessarily win over it. But Nangong Luyun wasn't a master that was easily bullied. If he didn't need to go save Su Luo at the critical juncture, now, he might even be saint rank. In this struggle between strong experts, Su Luo simply couldn't insert in. She could only be deeply concerned and retreat a bit further, so as not to split Nangong Luyun's attention on her. In the beginning, both sides were evenly matched, but in the wake of the battle progressing deeper, the worry in Su Luo's eyes became even stronger. Because she discovered that right now, Nangong Luyun was actually retreating step by step. He only had the strength to block and no strength to retaliate. The reason was, Su Luo really had the urge to spit out blood, because she realized that the absorbing spirit crystal was swallowed by the gigantic dragon. Therefore, the gigantic dragon's strength soared at a fast speed that the naked eye could see. And under this situation, the longer it took, the more strength he used up. Nangong Luyun was actually at a disadvantage. Su Luo simply wanted to cry, but lacked the tears. She knew, ever since her absorbing spirit crystal entered the gigantic dragon's mouth, she had no way of getting it back. If it was really like this, then she could forget it. But the gigantic dragon's strength actually became a threat to Nangong Luyun's safety. Just when Su Luo was staring fixedly at the battle situation that was getting worse and worse, Dongfang Xian's figure was silently approaching Su Luo. Loathsome girl, this time, see where you can run to. Huh? Dongfang Xian stood about 3 meters from Su Luo, his shady gaze flickering with a sinister smirk as he stared at her in an ice-cold manner. Dongfang Xian, the always calm without a ripple Su Luo, was now itching to tear Dongfang Xian into pieces. If it weren't for him to come out and disturb the situation, how could the current dangerous situation occur? Chapter 1735, Cat Chasing a Mouse 2. Loathsome girl, now you only have 2 choices. Dongfang Xian never had this chance of raising his eyebrows to blow off steam. He proudly slanted a glance at Su Luo. Want me to do it, or you'll take your own life instead? Cold light converged in Su Luo's eyes. Don't need to look. Nangong Luyun can't even save himself right now, let alone others. He can't save you, huh? The more Dongfang Xian thought about it, the more pleased he was and the more crazed his laughter became. Ever since he saw Su Luo, Dongfang Xian had always eaten losses in front of her. Before, there was her master protecting her. Now, in secret roaming dragon territory, she had Nangong Luyun protecting her. To the extent that his cultivation seemed in vain, as he couldn't do anything to Su Luo, who was weaker in strength. But now, the gods finally opened their eyes, at last giving him an unprecedented opportunity. Dongfang Xian, you are just as certain you can kill me? Su Luo's lips hooked into a smile that wasn't a smile. Don't tell me you still have a trump card on your body? Dongfang Xian's smile was feminine, nefarious and charming, sinisterly strange. His gaze gave off a cold light as he stared unblinkingly at Su Luo. The smile at the corner of his mouth made people's hairs stand up on end. What if I said I have one? The fist at Su Luo's side tightened. Dongfang Xian had absorbed the entire absorbing spirit crystal. His strength was originally pretty good, had risen dramatically. Now don't know if the little stone could beat him in a fight. Su Luo's gaze swept by Li Aochen and Luo Haoming, who had stopped cultivating and stood behind Dongfang Xian. Since you have it, then take it out and let us have a look. Dongfang Xian walked towards Su Luo, step by step. He moved forward a step, and Su Luo couldn't help but move back a step. The situation was completely in Dongfang Xian's grasp. Dongfang Xian's mouth had a cold smile of victory within his grasp. His smile was ice-cold and demonic, specks of killing intent flashing from his eyes. At this moment, as long as he moved, he definitely wouldn't let Su Luo live. Master! Su Luo suddenly looked with a pleasantly surprised expression towards Dongfang Xian's back. Her smile was full of excitement. Dongfang Xian suddenly remembered the lesson Grandmaster Rong Yin taught him before entering the secret roaming dragon territory. His heart suddenly trembled. When he returned to his senses, Su Luo, that loathsome girl, had already run far away. Dongfang Xian's face became gloomy in an instant as he said furiously, "Quickly chase." Finished speaking, his speed exploded out as he shot forward like a cheetah. Li Aochen, hearing this, very obediently wanted to chase after. But Beichening was a step faster and had already blocked in front of him. With both arms crossed before him, he smiled narrow-mindedly and provocatively. "Brother Li, don't leave yet. Get out of the way." Li Aochen didn't even think before making a move against Beichening. But Beichening wasn't someone to be trifled with. Although before, his strength was slightly weaker than Li Aochen. But who told him to have such good luck and enter the Spirit River a bit earlier than Li Aochen? Through the baptism of the Spirit River, Beichenying's strength wasn't necessarily weaker than Li Aochen's. As a result, since after Nangong Luoyun started to battle the gigantic dragon, Beichening and Li Aochen also started to fight. Luo Haoming looked at the battles in front of him, then looked again up ahead. Dongfang Xian's figure had already disappeared from there. Seeing this, he couldn't help but smile bitterly. Zi Yin calmly stood in front of him with determination. Her cold eyes looked at him indifferently, although she didn't say anything, but that meaning was self-evident. If Luo Haoming dared to chase after them, even if Zi Yin couldn't beat him, she still would risk her life to try to stop him. Luo Haoming, seeing this, repeatedly smiled bitterly. Although he seemed to be on Dongfang Xian's team, but slowly, his heart started to be more partial towards Su Luo's side, therefore. "Miss Zi Yin, sit down and rest for a bit," Luo Haoming said in a friendly manner. Chapter 1736. Cat Chasing a Mouse 3. No Need. Zi Yin had both hands crossed over her arms, her gaze unblinkingly staring at Luo Haoming. Zi Yin knew that if she ran over to help Beichening, then this brief equilibrium would be broken. At that time, even if Luo Haoming wasn't willing, he would still join and help Li Aochen's side. Therefore, Zi Yin bided her time, wholeheartedly watched Luo Haoming. Zi Yin was really worried about Nangong Luoyun and Beichening, while also worried about Su Luo, who had run and disappeared. Her brows were slightly puckered up, although she knew Su Luo had the little stone as a trump card, but recalling Dongfang Xian's strength that rose drastically, Zi Yin couldn't help but to start worrying. She knew that Su Luo running far away wasn't only because she didn't want Nangong Luoyun to be worried. At the same time, she wanted to bring Dongfang Xian, that lunatic, away, so as to avoid getting her and Beichening injured. Right now, as Zi Yin expected, Su Luo's situation wasn't good. Before, Su Luo grabbed a thread of change to run out, but Dongfang Xian's reaction was also very fast, and he immediately started to chase. So the distance between the two was very close. Right now, Su Luo's heart was full of blame. She really didn't understand why she couldn't use her teleport. If she could use it, Don't mention 1 Dongfang Xian, even 10 Dongfang Xian, she would have already shaken them off. But complaining was just complaining. Su Luo didn't dare to relax the pace of her feet. She displayed the spirit dance steps to the peak because she could sense that Dongfang Xian was very close to her. As long as she slowed by a step, she would enter his range of attack. Loathsome girl, your speed isn't slow. When Dongfang Xian saw Su Luo run, his first reaction was nonplussed. But now, he had the thrilling feeling of a cat trying to catch a mouse. Clearly, victory was in his grasp, while letting the opponent feel that there was slight chance to live by letting them run nonstop. This kind of evil taste made Dongfang Xian's heart become even more joyful. After leaving the Spirit River, Su Luo directly ran north, because she knew the maze for the 4th challenge was in that direction. As long as she ran into the maze, then Dongfang Xian would have no way to deal with her. Able not to expose the little stone, Su Luo still planned not to reveal him as much as possible. Under the soles of her feet was soft snow, hindering Su Luo's speed. But when Su Luo saw up ahead, a trace of hope rose in her heart. Not far up ahead, a dense green color swayed, making Su Luo's eyes dizzy. This also made her heart full of joy and hope. That was a primitive forest, the primitive forest that hid the sky and covered the earth. After seeing the map, Su Luo knew that as long as she passed through this primitive forest, she would have reached the entrance to the maze. And the trees in the primitive forest hid the sky and covered the earth. The environment was very dark. The degree one could see was very low. If Dongfang Xian wanted to find her, he would waste a lot of energy. As a result, Su Luo took a deep breath and put all her spirit force into her feet. Her speed suddenly soared. In one split second, she put a long distance between her and Dongfang Xian. Loathsome girl, so it turned out you were using all your strength. A sinister ray of light flashed through Dongfang Xian's eyes. A malevolent and terrifying smile appeared on his mouth. His ice-cold voice slowly sounded. However, if you feel you can escape my pursuit just because of this, then you are gravely mistaken. Now, I declare that the time to pull up the net is here. Rushing into the primitive forest, Su Luo slowly gave a breath of relief. However, before she could inhale again, a sinister figure appeared in front of her. Seeing this figure, Su Luo's eyes shrank. Dongfang Xian, how did his speed become so fast all of a sudden, to appear in front of her in such a short while? As if he could see Su Luo's puzzlement, Dongfang Xian gave a cold laugh. Loathsome girl, you can conserve strength. Don't tell me I don't know how to do it too. The implication was that if he wanted to capture Su Luo, he would very easily succeed. Now, it was merely a cat playing with a mouse and nothing more. Chapter 1737. A Place to Hide 1. Although Su Luo's mood wasn't steady, however, her expression was still as calm as water. One only saw a faint smile blossom on her face. Dongfang Xian, do you really think you can kill me? The smile in Dongfang Xian's eyes were deep as the ocean. His hands were looped in front of his chest as he calmly raised an eyebrow. Why? Could it be you still have another move? Su Luo just smiled and didn't speak. Seeing the calm Su Luo, Dongfang Xian frowned slightly. Could it be that this loathsome girl actually had another move saved? The originally calm and composed Dongfang Xian, who had victory in his grasp, was now afraid of moving because of fearing an unexpected result. His gaze also had a trace of doubt when looking at Su Luo. Whether I have another move or not will depend on if you believe it or not. Su Luo, with a ghost of a smile, looked at him. A cold intent flashed through Dongfang Xian's eyes. Now, Nangong Liyun was tangled up with the gigantic dragon, and he finally hunted down Su Luo, this loathsome girl, after great difficulty. Could it be he would abandon his actions just with several doubtful sentences from her? The corner of Dongfang Xian's mouth pulled, tauntingly and mockingly. He said to Su Luo, "Give you a chance to leave some last words." Su Luo's expression was calm as before. The tip of her eyes and mouth were full of smiles. The person who should leave the last words, shouldn't it be you? Loathsome girl, with death at hand, your mouth is still tough. Since it's like this, then let me send you to heaven. Dongfang Xian's expression was sinister, and he moved before he finished speaking. A countless number of ice thorns exploded out from the ground. Rising up within a half-meter range, the world froze over in an instant. Dongfang Xian moved against Su Luo without the slightest hesitation. And at this moment, Su Luo didn't choose to flee. Instead, she rushed towards Dongfang Xian. Her speed was fast as an artillery shell. Su Luo's reaction made Dongfang Xian suspicious. Because of this, his movement was slightly sluggish. When Su Luo was only 10 meters from Dongfang Xian, he finally moved. One only saw his body rush quickly towards Su Luo. In a flash, the two figures crossed. But the instant they crossed, Dongfang Xian's palm contained a world-shaking, endless strength, just like a great scourge in the world attacking towards Su Luo. But Su Luo also moved. When they crossed, Cheng Ying's sword silently flew out from Su Luo's arm and stabbed over. Several slight sword strikes flew towards Dongfang Xian's heart. Dongfang Xian felt his chest go slightly cold, but he already had preparation against Su Luo's weapon that appeared and disappeared unpredictably. So the wind from his palm slanted and directly hit the Cheng Ying sword. The wind palm strike and Cheng Ying's sword met, giving off a violent whoosh sound. Su Luo could clearly hear the sound of pain that the Cheng Ying sword gave off. Very clearly, Cheng Ying's sword was at a disadvantage when confronting Dongfang Xian's attack head-on. Just when Dongfang Xian was feeling proud, he discovered that his pair of legs was bound up. He lowered his head and discovered a thick golden vein was tightly wrapped around his feet. Below his knees, his 2 feet were bound together to the extent he simply couldn't take a step. Loathsome girl, you really had some abilities. Dongfang Xian had a sinister sneer. You let me win. Oh. Su Luo smilingly cupped her hand. Although she said, you let me win, but when she lowered her head, a spherical object flew directly into Dongfang Xian's arm. Then, she immediately ran away. Although Dongfang Xian didn't see what Su Luo tossed into his arms, but he sensed it was fishy. Spirit pinball? It absolutely was a spirit pinball that hadn't exploded. Dongfang Xian didn't think, directly fished up that ball, and didn't even look before tossing it towards Su Luo's back. But the scene Dongfang Xian anticipated didn't occur. Chapter 1738. A place to hide, too. On the contrary, when that spherical ball was about to reach Su Luo's back, it suddenly disappeared without reason. While Su Luo was fleeing, she even had the relaxed frame of mind to turn her head back and smile at Dongfang Xian. Her smile was dazzling as the morning sun. Brother Dongfang really has high eyesight. Don't even want the absorbing spirit crystal. Then I'll reluctantly accept it. Oh. Su Luo left behind a bell-like cheerful laugh and a low voice. In an instant, she ran far, far away. Dongfang Xian was infuriated to the point of almost giving off smoke from his entire body. That actually wasn't a spirit pinball. If he had known it was an absorbing spirit crystal, how could Dongfang Xian return such a treasure back to Su Luo? Dongfang Xian's heart was wrathful and vexed at the same time. He wanted to chase, but found that thick and solid golden vine was wound around his leg very tightly. Dongfang Xian was extremely angry, and his spirit aura increased sharply. One only heard a burst of pitter-patter sound. Soon after, the golden vine burst into pieces. It scattered and fell to the ground. The good thing was that this golden vine was a strip that the Varian acacia tree cut off, so it didn't have much effect on the Varian acacia tree's original body. Dongfang Xian originally thought that everything was within his control, but who knew that Su Luo, this loathsome girl, was craftier than a fox. Moreover, she had an endless amount of treasures. In one moment of carelessness, she was able to escape again. Abominable, hateful. The more Dongfang Xian thought about it, the angrier he got. His fist was clenched tightly, although he was angered half to death, but his intellect was still there. So he immediately got up and went to chase after Su Luo. He didn't believe that in such a short period of time, Su Luo still could run out of his range. At this moment, Su Luo was using all her strength to run. All around was an endless primitive jungle, with no signs of human life. Dense, ancient trees that were tall, erect, and reached to the clouds, full of lush greenery. Wherever the eyes could see, it was all dark green, lush leaves. You simply couldn't see where this ended. A burst of cool breeze blew by the leaves in this sea of trees, giving rustling sounds. In this uninhibited forest, it gave people the terror of having one's blood run cold. But Su Luo didn't have the mind to worry about the dangers in the forest. From her point of view, the greatest danger came from behind her Dongfang Xian. Su Luo's figure quickly flitted across the forest. Her speed was very fast, and she changed directions many times. She headed north in a roundabout way, going left then right, as if she was panicked when selecting the route. This made Dongfang Xian, who was chasing behind her, have to be more alert, because if he relaxed a bit, Su Luo would disappear without a trace. Watching as the distance between the two became closer and closer, and she still couldn't see the maze up ahead, a cold intent flashed through Su Luo's brows. From the first time she arrived in this world, Su Luo had experienced a countless number of being chased to be killed. She had experienced a countless number of times being surrounded by perils. She had focused wholeheartedly, wanting to be strong for one reason, and it was that one day when she became strong, she would be the master of her own destiny. Now, must she continue to be chased and killed? Su Luo slowly shook her head in her mind. Up ahead was a tall and erect ancient tree. The trunk was so thick that it would take 10 people to wrap around it. Thick branches and luxuriant leaves. Even if one was to hide a person, no one would discover it. All of a sudden, a trace of joy flashed through Su Luo's eyes. This tree, Su Luo discovered that this really huge tree already had signs it was dying. In fact, it is already dead. The little stone gave her an affirmative reply. Su Luo's heart was joyful. Cheng Ying's sword slashed a gap on that trunk. Very quickly, a hole appeared in the tree that allowed one person to pass through. Su Luo flashed in. At the same time, the golden vine sealed up the tree with the original bark, making sure no changes could be seen. Moreover, the golden vine's consciousness entered this ancient tree and temporarily took over its fragmented consciousness, and resumed control of the tree's body. Chapter 1739. A place to hide 3. Just when Su Luo had finished hiding, Dongfang Xian's figure had already appeared in front of this ancient tree. Inside the ancient tree, it was pitch black like the night. Su Luo held her breath with rapt attention. She adjusted her body's functions to the slowest state. She even controlled her heartbeat to its weakest state. She withdrew all the spirit force into herself. Momentarily, Dongfang Xian couldn't sense that Su Luo had already hid. His body was like lightning. He quickly swept by and continued forward. But Su Luo knew the crisis hadn't been resolved, because based on her understanding of Dongfang Xian, wanting to escape from his pursuit, it wasn't an easy matter. Sure enough, it was as Su Luo anticipated. Very quickly, Dongfang Xian's figure returned. Now his pair of eyes was like snow swords shooting in all directions. But the result wasn't the one he wished for, because he couldn't find Su Luo. He actually lost Su Luo just like this after chasing her. Dongfang Xian was about to blow his top in his heart. Every time, when he was almost about to kill Su Luo, she could always escape the calamity. Every time it was like this. The more Dongfang Xian thought, the more unreconciled angrier he got. One fist hit towards the ancient tree in front of him. Su Luo's heart rose to her throat in an instant. Her thoughts continuously cried out, bad luck. Because unexpectedly, the ancient tree Dongfang Xian smashed towards was the one Su Luo was hiding in. One only heard a rumbling sound, and Dongfang Xian's fist directly smashed in. And just at this critical moment, Su Luo's figure lowered, avoiding this disaster by a hair's breadth. Otherwise, Dongfang Xian's fist position was aimed right at Su Luo's heart. If this fist was to hit, wouldn't Su Luo's organs become meat pulp? Fortunately, this ancient tree was already under the Varian acacia tree's control. So the Varian acacia tree secretly communicated to Su Luo, telling her there was danger. Only because of this, she had the chance to avoid it. Otherwise, with her spirit senses shut down, she wouldn't have been able to sense the situation outside. Separated by a layer of tree bark, daunting Wang Yu simply couldn't have imagined that the Su Luo he was striving with all his might to find was only half a meter in front of him. After smashing this fist and venting some steam, Dongfang Xian turned and was about to leave. After Dongfang Xian left, Su Luo knew she couldn't stay here any longer, so she hurriedly walked out. But Dongfang Xian hadn't left for long before his figure stopped. Su Luo's figure immediately stopped in place. Right now, she really was stuck between going in and retreating because as long as she moved, Dongfang Xian would discover her. But even though she was motionless, Dongfang Xian still discovered her presence. As to how he discovered her, Su Luo gave a bit of thought and understood. So, it turned out it was because of that fist. One might ask, based on Dongfang Xian's current strength, how could his fist that hit the ancient tree only leave behind a small hole? Under normal circumstances, even if the ancient tree wasn't smashed into smithereens, at least it should have been pulled up by the roots. Dongfang Xian didn't think of the variant acacia tree controlling the ancient tree's body. He also never thought that Su Luo would be so lucky as to avoid that fist. He just felt that this ancient tree trunk had some problems and wanted to turn back to study it properly. But he had just turned around and met with Su Luo's eyes. "Loathsome girl!" Dongfang Xian became excited in an instant. So excited that the finger he had pointed at Su Luo trembled nonstop. At this moment, Su Luo calmly smiled and greeted him. Such a coincidence. Yes, really is coincidental. This really is called traveled far and wide to look for something and finding it so easily. Dongfang Xian now really understood the meaning of this phrase. Chapter 1740. A sudden situation arose, really? Su Luo's lips hooked into a ghost of a smile. Don't you feel that the surroundings seem a bit fishy? From Su Luo mentioning this, Dongfang Xian really felt a trace of something being off. But specifically where it was fishy, he couldn't say. He only felt that the bottom of his heart was somewhat cold. "Loathsome girl, what other ghost are you creating?" Dongfang Xian's cold eyes stared fixedly on Su Luo. A trace of fear flashed through his eyes. His actions indicated he was taking precautions. Su Luo laughed out loud with a content expression. "Want to know? I just won't tell you." Su Luo knew that the more she was like this, the more overly suspicious Dongfang Xian would be, making his hands and feet itch from uncertainty. Only this way would her chances of winning be greater. In fact, Dongfang Xian's reaction was as Su Luo expected. His cultivation, because of his suspicions, couldn't fully be put to use. "Then you just accept death." Dongfang Xian's expression was sinister. In one "I seals the world" move, it directly smashed towards Su Luo's head. The huge snowball whizzed over with cold wind, as if the entire world had entered an ice age. Su Luo quickly retreated back, but the more that snowball rolled, the bigger it became and the faster it got. Faced with this huge snowball, Su Luo was like a tiny ant. No matter how fast her speed soared, she wasn't able to run out from the attack range of the snowball. In contrast, as the huge snowball's speed became faster and faster, the distance between the two got closer and closer. This move by Dongfang Xian showed he was serious. He was trying to use one move to directly settle Su Luo. Watching Su Luo being chased by that huge snowball, Dongfang Xian's mouth hooked into a sinister smirk. "Su Luo, goodbye." Watching Su Luo being fiercely crushed by the snowball as it passed, Dongfang Xian had his hands on his hips as he howled with laughter, facing the front. His laugh was happy and carefree, as if the anger accumulated for a long time was finally set free at this moment, as if all the air he sucked in now carried a refreshing sweet scent. Su Luo was dead, forever dead. In the future, he wouldn't ever see that loathsome girl's repulsive face. Dongfang Xian's mood was extremely fine, but very quickly, his smile froze at the corner of his mouth. Su Luo's. Where was the body? Even if she was squashed in a mush, at the least there should still be meat pieces. But when Dongfang Xian controlled the huge snowball and his spirit entered to check, he very quickly discovered that something was wrong. Because there wasn't a trace of blood on the snowball. That was to say, Su Luo disappeared into thin air. This damn shit. In the end, what happened? Alive must see the person. Death, you should always see a body, right? Recalling that strange smile of Su Luo's from before, Dongfang Xian couldn't help but feel cold air coming from the soles of his feet. His ice-cold gaze quickly shot in all four directions. But what made him despair was that Su Luo seemed to have disappeared into thin air. Dongfang Xian was jealous and not resigned. He once again released his spirit sense, searching inch by inch. But what made him thoroughly depressed was Su Luo had really disappeared. This loathsome girl really is a slippery mouse, having 9 lives. No matter what, can't kill her. Both of Dongfang Xian's hands were clenched into tight fists. His fists shook nonstop because of his fury. All the veins on the back of his hands exploded out. Go die, go die, go die! Once again letting Su Luo escape. Dongfang Xian's heart was extremely angry. Now he couldn't control it anymore and went berserk. His fists started to bombard the surroundings. Very quickly, in all directions, the dark green that filled the eyes were razed to the ground. There were holes on all sides, and there wasn't an inch of the earth that was smooth. It seemed as if it had been rocked by major violence. Being arrogant, seeing Dongfang Xian go berserk, Su Luo wished she could bite him to death. Before, when the huge snowball rolled over, after accurately calculating everything in her head, when she knew she had less than 60 seconds and would be squashed by the snowball, she had firmly carried out the measures. Chapter 1741. Fleeing for her life from the tiger's den 1. Su Luo knew that if she went up, Dongfang Xian definitely wouldn't let her escape. So, she decisively took the measure of going down, which was to drill deep into the earth. With the variant acacia tree's huge root system present, burrowing a tunnel naturally wasn't a problem. In fact, the variant acacia tree merely withdrew one strong and thick root, and a long black hole appeared underground. Su Luo just had to slide down as if going down a slide, sliding down and reaching the end, then following the root system to feel her way up. Su Luo once again returned to the place she stayed before inside that ancient tree's trunk. Just because the most dangerous place was the safest place. Even if Dongfang Xian died, he wouldn't have guessed that Su Luo would climb back into that ancient tree's trunk under his helpless gaze. Therefore, Su Luo felt that this time, she was finally safe. But Su Luo, guessing back and forth, still underestimated Dongfang Xian's rage. She never expected that Dongfang Xian's rage would be this strong. When he moved, it would be that fierce, thoroughly ruining the surroundings. The variant acacia tree was petrified in place. Although it was slightly injured, it wasn't serious. Right now, the variant acacia tree was still uncertain if it should fall to the ground. This way, it might seem to fit in with the surroundings. Just when the variant acacia tree hesitated, suddenly, it saw Dongfang Xian take large strides towards it. The variant acacia tree was Su Luo's plant pet. Through the variant acacia tree's eyes, Su Luo naturally could understand the situation outside. She watched helplessly as Dongfang Xian took large strides to walk over. Suddenly, a not-so-good premonition rose in her heart. To escape now, was there still time? Su Luo was just about to stealthily follow the original black hole to slip away when Dongfang Xian's cold eyes narrowed, starting at this ancient tree. That cold light in his eyes made Su Luo feel afraid involuntarily. Then, she subconsciously curled up and became motionless, even to the point of stifling the beating of her heart. Because Su Luo knew, right now, Dongfang Xian was using his spirit force to scan this tree up and down. The variant acacia tree deliberately repressed its strength, pretending to be a stupid ancient tree, let alone to say her. Dongfang Xian stood firmly about a meter in front of the ancient tree. After scanning it, he didn't find anything strange about it. But he wouldn't give up. He continuously circled around the ancient tree while his right hand stroked his chin, as if he was pondering deeply. Su Luo's heart jumped, wishing Dongfang Xian would leave earlier. But things always turned out contrary to her wishes. Not only didn't Dongfang Xian leave, but he stopped in the place that was in front of Su Luo, separated by a layer of tree bark, as he carefully pondered. Suddenly, he stroked his chin and mumbled to himself. This plant pet seems to be stupid, but able to fight and endure a beating. I can barely use it. What? Su Luo opened her eyes wide inside the ancient tree. What did Dongfang Xian's words mean? It's not like what she was thinking, right? At this time, Dongfang Xian's voice came through faintly. Plant pets are hard to find. Since that loathsome girl has a plant pet, then I'll reluctantly accept one too. Su Luo ridiculed in her heart. Could you not be so reluctant? A pity Dongfang Xian couldn't hear Su Luo's heart, even if he could hear it. Then that's to say, whatever Su Luo said, he would definitely go in the other direction. Therefore, Su Luo's ridicule didn't have a bit of use on him. Now one only saw Dongfang Xian roll up his sleeves, both hands pressed on that ancient tree. Chapter 1742. Fleeing for her life from the tiger's den, too. What do you want to do? Su Luo, inside the large tree, had two broad streaks of tears flowing down with crashing sounds. Was there a more tragic story than hers? Originally, she thought that the most dangerous place was the safest place, but who would have known that the most dangerous place was still the most dangerous place? Up! One only heard Dongfang Xian give a loud shout, then a burst of crashing noise sounded. The long tree trunk was directly put on Dongfang Xian's shoulder. Su Luo only felt her body sway for a period. Her thin and weak body was shaken to roll east, then fell west. Afterwards, she discovered that Dongfang Xian really carried this tree to sweep all over the place. Su Luo felt that no words could describe her current situation and mood. Watching Dongfang Xian searching in all directions, Su Luo knew he still hadn't given up. He was still looking for her hiding place. Seeing him put so much effort into searching, Su Luo had a feeling of deep sympathy towards Dongfang Xian. She had no choice but to say that he was also a tragic child. She was laying inside on his shoulder, but he still didn't know, and he continued to search nonstop within a range of 10 meters. Moreover, his movements were extremely frantic. In the places he swept through, the ancient trees all became powder. All living things became nothingness, with exception to the tree on his shoulder. Now left for Su Luo was two roads. One was while Dongfang Xian was going crazy, she would very quietly slip away in a hush-hush manner. The other was to take advantage of Dongfang Xian going crazy. She'd kill him with one sword strike to solve all her problems. Then, which route should she take? Su Luo stroked her chin and began to ponder. Having thought for a while, Su Luo made up her mind. To always be chased to be killed wasn't something she wanted to see. Then taking the initiative to attack might actually get an unexpected result. Thinking up to here, Su Luo decided to walk the second path, but wanted to kill Dongfang Xian in secret. This was a very difficult problem. If it was the Dongfang Xian that didn't enter the Spirit River, Su Luo's secretive attack would have a 50% of success. Now, she didn't even have a 20% certainty of success. However, opportunity only knocks once. In the future, she wouldn't have such a chance of foolishly staying on his back. If she didn't do it now, then when should she wait until? Su Luo's mouth hooked into a cold smile. Her sleeves flipped, and the dagger appeared in the palm of her originally empty right hand. Su Luo took a deep breath and quietly waited for the best time to arrive. Loathsome girl, where did you run to in the end? Dongfang Xian mumbled to himself. His brows were tightly creased, so tight they could pinch an ant to death. Within a range of 10 meters, there were no signs of human life. There were no living creatures. How could anyone respond? The targeted character, Su Luo, silently gripped her dagger, eyes tightly closed, afraid of any carelessness, and she would be discovered by Dongfang Xian. No matter what, must find this loathsome girl. Otherwise, when Nangong Luyun settles that gigantic dragon and chases over, at that time, it would be troublesome. Dongfang Xian's tone had a trace of impatience. He knew this world was balanced. He had picked up the Dragon King's command that summoned the gigantic dragon. But he knew that the time that gigantic dragon appeared would be limited. As to what kind of restrictions, he wasn't clear. Su Luo's dagger slowly moved forward, penetrated through the tree bark, revealing its sharp light. 3 inches, 2 inches, 1 inch. Su Luo's heart was tightly clenched, and she was somewhat nervous. After all, the person she wanted to kill right now was Dongfang Xian, and not someone else, whose cultivation was much higher than hers. Chapter 1743. Fleeing for her life from the tiger's den 3. Just when Su Luo's dagger was preparing to stab down fiercely, all of a sudden, Dongfang Xian's pair of hands reached back and stood the ancient tree in front vertically. Su Luo only felt a burst of dizziness. When she returned to her senses, she discovered she didn't have a chance because this ancient tree was directly inserted into the ground. Fortunately, Su Luo's reaction was very quick, subconsciously taking back the dagger. After she got her dagger back, her heart felt complicated. She was annoyed at herself for losing such a great opportunity to assassinate him. She was also worried if Dongfang Xian's sharp eyes could see traces where the dagger stabbed out. Ah! Dongfang Xian suddenly cried out in surprise. Very quickly, he noticed the markings where the dagger stabbed through. Because matters were just such a coincidence, this mark was just staring at Dongfang Xian at a distance parallel to his gaze. Quickly run! Su Luo secretly instructed the variant acacia tree. If it didn't run now, it would be caught. The variant acacia tree hurriedly nodded. Among its huge root system, one root quickly extended forward. Several tens of meters under the ground, silently extending out, just like a creek water flowing by quietly. Even Dongfang Xian couldn't sense it. Su Luo risked the danger of being discovered, held her breath, and grabbed the variant acacia's root as it quietly sent her down into the ground. Soon after, it quickly sent her forward. During this whole process, Su Luo didn't move her body herself. Because if she even moved slightly, that fluctuation in the spirit aura would be perceived by Dongfang Xian. She only laid there motionless, her body bound by one root among variant acacia tree's root system. Afterwards, letting it quickly transport her. Let's not talk about Su Luo now silently escaping this dangerous place. Just talk about Dongfang Xian. At this time, Dongfang Xian was staring unblinkingly at that very tiny scar on the tree bark. His eyes were narrowed into slits. This clearly was the mark of a dagger having sliced by. Moreover, inferring from the time this wound was created, it ought to have been created not long ago. This tree he had always carried on his shoulder. Then how was the wound created? Dongfang Xian's brain spun quickly. Suddenly, a light shone from his eyes. A kind of impossible-to-believe deduction appeared in his head. Impossible, right? Dongfang Xian thought up to here, and without thinking, his fist directly smashed towards that ancient tree. But with just one fist strike, he sensed that things were not right. He remembered that this ancient tree was able to withstand a lot of smashing and beating. It was also because of this that he took an extra glance at it. Now, he used the same strength to smash over, and a little less than half of this tree actually exploded and collapsed. And in the middle of the tree, a hole that could allow 5 people to stand and appeared in front of him. This aura, Dongfang Xian held his breath with rapt attention, as he carefully used his spirit sense to identify this aura in the center of the ancient tree. When he identified it after great difficulty, immediately, his entire person didn't feel good. One only saw his complexion turned ashen, and eyes become bloodshot. His sinister gaze was full of hatred as he stared at this ancient tree. His expression fluctuated between clear and overcast, suddenly dark then suddenly light. Ah! Dongfang Xian was angered to the extreme. A countless number of shadows of fists smashed towards the ancient tree. This ancient tree was already free from variant acacia tree's control. It was just an ordinary ancient tree that was rather old and nothing more. One could just imagine how hard it was. Only several hits from Dongfang Xian's fist, and it was smashed into powder. As for the variant acacia tree, once it saw the situation was wrong, it had long abandoned its use of spirit mind to control the ancient tree. Afterwards, it followed behind Su Luo and ran far away. Naturally, it wouldn't remain behind to let Dongfang Xian bully it. Chapter 1744. Fleeing Underground 1. How could it be like this? How could it be like this? Loathsome girl? Dongfang Xian raised his head to the sky and howled loudly. Dongfang Xian discovered he was a fool, a super huge fool. Within a range of 5 kilometers, all living things were turned to dust by him. While what he was really looking for, he had carried on his own shoulder. He actually ran into this kind of debacle. Dongfang Xian didn't know what to say about himself. After howling loudly for a while, Dongfang Xian gradually calmed down. He became aware after the fact that the matter of most importance wasn't to vent his rage. Rather, he must find a way to capture back the loathsome Su Luo that was like a mudfish that keeps slipping from his hand. Loathsome girl, don't think you can escape. Dongfang Xian snarled hatefully. Soon after, he calmed down to analyze the situation. Now, he was certain that before, Su Luo had always hid inside this ancient tree. Then, when did she run away? If it was said that she ran away along the way, Dongfang Xian carefully examined that ancient tree once over, then shook his head. He vetoed this idea. If Su Luo ran away midway during his search, it was impossible that he didn't sense it. Then, the only possibility was when he inserted the ancient tree into the ground, so she had a chance to slip away. Because at that time, the ancient tree left his hand while in contact with the earth. If Su Luo could tunnel underground, please pardon Dongfang Xian. No matter how large a hole was in his mind, he still couldn't imagine the fantastic scene of the variant acacia tree's root system, which with one poke as it wished, and an underground tunnel would show up. Dongfang Xian thought that if Su Luo could tunnel underground, then that would explain how Su Luo disappeared into thin air when attacked by the huge snowball. Afterwards, the strange matter of her appearing inside the ancient tree. Thinking up to here, Dongfang Xian immediately pushed aside the ancient tree, then looked down. Sure enough, a hole that was wide enough for one person to pass through appeared in front of Dongfang Xian. Loathsome girl! Dongfang Xian's gaze had a sinister and cruel expression. This black hole proved that all his guesses were correct. At the same time, it also proved how crafty Su Luo, that loathsome girl, was. Don't think this time you really escaped. Wait until I capture you. I definitely will make you feel that death is better than living. Dongfang Xian's eyes were cold and dark. Soon after, his figure quickly drilled into the hole. Because this hole was dug out by the variant acacia tree, so when Dongfang Xian quickly pursued inside, very quickly, it sensed him. At the same time, it passed on this news to Su Luo. So quickly he chased up? Su Luo frowned slightly. Dongfang Xian's reaction was a lot faster than she had imagined. Now what should she do? Su Luo's mind spun quickly. Inside the black hole was not good for engaging in combat, but very suitable for concealing oneself. All of a sudden, Su Luo's mouth hooked into a full of interest expression. Her jet-black pupils whirled. People familiar with her would know that at this time, they must avoid her. But Dongfang Xian didn't know, so he was still laboriously chasing after her. Su Luo quietly asked the variant acacia tree, underground, can your root system still expand out? Can't. The variant acacia tree excitedly patted its chest. Its tone was exceptionally loud and clear. Then that's good. Su Luo's heart was exalted. Then she gave the variant acacia tree several instructions. She patted its leaves to say, quickly go. This time will all depend on you. To serve master is my honor. Because variant acacia tree had favorable position to use its skills. Its face had an excitement that couldn't be described with words. After getting Su Luo's instructions, the variant acacia tree became busy, going about its business. Chapter 1745. Fleeing Underground 2. One only saw a very small variant acacia tree, but its roots expanded out at a speed the naked eyes could see. It became thick and solid, then very long. The four thick roots extended in all four directions. In fact, Su Luo's plan was very simple. Just now, she suddenly recalled the situation in the demon cave at that time. That place had a maze. Almost at every turn, several more roads would appear to choose from. So Su Luo also learned from that and let the variant acacia tree build four different paths. Like this, when Dongfang Xian rushed over, wouldn't it make him hesitate for a long time? Moreover, with four paths, if he wanted to find the correct one, he would need to spend a lot of effort. Originally, Su Luo's speed couldn't be compared to Dongfang Xian's. If she was continuously chased in this underground tunnel, sooner or later, she would be caught. But now Su Luo used this method, and it would be a great hindrance to Dongfang Xian hunting her down. All the wrath in Dongfang Xian's heart turned into speed, going all out to chase. But before he ran very far, when he saw the four small paths standing in front of him, Dongfang Xian's expression changed slightly. Could it be that underneath there was already a tunnel? Dongfang Xian's eyes opened wide in disbelief. Otherwise, based on Su Luo's ability to dig holes, how could she run and dig at the same time? Moreover, still for paths? While Dongfang Xian mumbled to himself, his footsteps stopped. His fingers pinched a small piece of earth to examine carefully. Afterwards, his brows wrinkled tightly. Not right, these earth definitely couldn't have existed for long. If it's like this, Dongfang Xian arrived at a conclusion. At Su Luo's side must be an organism that was really good at digging holes. Even at this stage, Dongfang Xian still couldn't imagine that in fact, the matter of digging holes were merely as simple as the variant acacia tree extending its root system. The four roads ahead, all traces of Su Luo having passed though had been erased. Although it's not as bad as Dongfang Xian rushing into every road and rush back out. He still had no choice but to release his spirit aura to check. Among them, there were three roads that's less than several kilometers before stopping. Only the other one continuously extended out without an end. "Lonesome girl!" Dongfang Xian very fiercely spit out these words. He got up and directly pursued. But this kind of thing wasn't only once, rather countless times this occurred in a loop. Every time Dongfang Xian's speed rose to the extreme, he would discover four roads appearing up ahead. Then he would examine the roads one by one and chose the correct one in the end, and increase his speed to pursue. Like this, the distance between the two increased. How could Dongfang Xian catch Su Luo like this? The distance between the two not only didn't decrease, but actually became further and further apart. Like this, Su Luo tunneled underground and unconsciously walked for a long time. When she detected the atmosphere up ahead was moist, then she stopped. After going up to look from underground, when Su Luo touched the sunlight, she was slightly unused to it. But very quickly, she restored to normal. Up ahead was a large river. The river automatically flowed westwards. Su Luo took out the map and checked whether if she wanted to go north, was this wide river the route she must take. But Su Luo carefully examined this river. The surface of the river was a dark green color, clean but not clear. No one knew what was hidden beneath. Right now, the surface of the river was calm as a mirror, without a single ripple. The surface of the river was several hundreds of meters wide. Based on Su Luo's current strength, wanting to fly over it was simply impossible. Chapter 1746, Fleeing Underground 3. As for stepping on the waves to cross over, this was impossible. But Su Luo always felt that under this dark green-colored river, a great danger was hidden at its bottom. This was something her sixth sense told her. If it wasn't necessary, Su Luo really didn't want to invite trouble. Now placed in front of Su Luo was two roads. One was to think of a way to cross over this dark river to the other side. The other way was to return from the road she came from and return to Nangong Liuyun's side. As long as she could cross this dark river, very quickly, she would see the maze of the fourth challenge. But if she was to return to Nangong Liuyun's side, it would be a long road back. Moreover, she might bring back Dongfang Xian, who had great fighting power. Before, she had specifically run away so she could draw Dongfang Xian away. Now, why would she bring him back? If she just so happened to encounter them battling together, and Dongfang Xian helped the gigantic dragon, then wouldn't she regret to death? So after much thought, Su Luo still decided to first cross this river and then discuss it. How to cross this river safely? This was a question worth pondering over. Suddenly, Su Luo recalled the scene when Nangong Luyun brought her back to land from the East China Sea. At that time, it was merely 2 wooden boards, but Nangong Luyun brought her over the seas confidently and easily as if ice skating, and the speed was also very fast. The corner of Su Luo's mouth hooked into a smile. Soon after, she found a wooden board, deciding to imitate Nangong Luyun's methods from that time. But when Su Luo was just preparing to put the wooden board into the river, she discovered that the ground trembled slightly. "Not good!" Su Luo cried out in alarm. She lifted her head to look. Sure enough, Dongfang Xian stood in front of her with a gloomy face. His gaze was like a hungry wolf's, staring at her in a frosty manner. Su Luo's body suddenly had the feeling of being chilled to the bones. Right now, Dongfang Xian was like a volcano about to explode, giving people an extremely terrifying feeling. It made people really want to take to their heels and run. Su Luo's heart was somewhat anxious, but her face still remained calm as water. She smiled and said in a composed manner, "Brother Dongfang, long time no see, oh. Long time no see?" Dongfang Xian fumed with rage and bit out each word. His tone was even as he grinded out these 4 words. "It's you who hasn't seen me for a long time. As for me, I need to thank Dongfang Xian for carrying me along the way." Su Luo's smile was as dazzling as the fireworks. Her eyes had a trace of being pleased with herself and ridicule. Su Luo's ghost of a smile and attitude ignited Dongfang Xian's rage that he had specifically suppressed. "Loathsome girl, die!" Dongfang Xian, this time, didn't even waste any time to say superfluous words to Su Luo. He directly used his biggest killing move. Ice and fire both soared to the sky. Dongfang Xian bellowed. In an instant, it seemed that the temperature in the surroundings dropped to freezing point. One after another, ignited columns of flame shot towards Su Luo from all directions. In a flash, the cold ice sealed both of Su Luo's feet, making it hard for her to move even half a step. The thick columns of flames shot over like arrows, carrying with them sound that could split the sky, surging up violently like the tide with matchless power. Su Luo wanted to avoid it, but discovered a long time ago that she couldn't move a single step. Now, she stood there like a statue, motionless, and could only become a living target. Only one move, the situation changed dramatically. Su Luo now was in an extremely dangerous circumstance. Dongfang Xian, this move, used 100% of his power. It came like torrential rain. It could be seen how furious he was at this time. He was almost on the edge of going insane. But could Su Luo really become a motionless target while alive? This was clearly impossible. Although he had learned from previous experiences, Dongfang Xian's calculation still had a little hole. Chapter 1747. 8 Claws Strange Water Creature 1. Dongfang Xian only prevented Su Luo from drilling underground again, so he set a firm defense on the ground. But at this time, the variant acacia tree's roots were quickly spreading into the layer of ice. Soon after, one could see Su Luo at the center of the ice layer. Like a spider web, it spread out in all directions, breaking apart. In the wake of the spider web fracturing, Su Luo's figure charged forward. Over the top of her head, 2 columns of fire collided, giving off a sizzling noise and red-hot rays of light. Su Luo covered her head while falling to the ground, subconsciously wrapping herself in nothingness of space to avoid the aftereffects of the attack. Dongfang Xian saw Su Luo avoid it, and the rage in his heart reached the peak. He took a step forward, his hand once again releasing another endless stream of attacks. Now, Su Luo couldn't move freely. If she was hit directly, naturally, her life would be in danger. Things having reached this stage, Su Luo could only take out her trump card. One only saw Su Luo's hand wave, and a figure slowly appeared in front of Su Luo. That tall figure gave people a very safe feeling. Mo. Elder Ancestor Mo. Seeing the person in front, Dongfang Xian was so surprised that he almost bit off his tongue. How could Elder Ancestor Mo be here? Entering the secret roaming dragon territory had an age restriction. No matter what, Elder Ancestor Mo shouldn't be able to enter. But the person in front of him clearly was Central Palace's Mo family's elder ancestor. Dongfang Xian had seen him before, so he definitely couldn't be mistaken. Elder Ancestor Mo's ice-cold gaze stared at him, not saying a word. What's going on? Dongfang Xian turned to ask Su Luo. Su Luo had already gotten up, calmly standing by Elder Ancestor Mo's side. That unhurried appearance. It was impossible to see the sorry figure she cut just now. Her lips hooked into a ghost of a smile. What's going on? It's just like you guessed. Hearing this, Dongfang Xian subconsciously lifted his head to look at Elder Ancestor Mo. Purgatory City doesn't have any grievance nor hatred with Central Palace. Let alone to say, this is a fight among the younger generation. Can Elder Ancestor Mo stand on the side and act as a witness? Dongfang Xian knew Elder Ancestor Mo's strength was formidable before he was already at the summit of saint rank. He simply couldn't beat Elder Ancestor Mo. Dongfang Xian was quite afraid of Elder Ancestor Mo, so he used righteousness to pressure him. He also used a sincere tone to ask Elder Ancestor Mo not to get involved. But today, it was bound to leave Dongfang Xian disappointed, because Elder Ancestor Mo's inner core had already been changed into the little stone. The little stone's mouth hooked into an indifferent smile, and slowly spit out a word, no. Dongfang Xian was immediately at a loss for words. His expression became more grave. Elder Ancestor Mo insists on getting involved? Elder Ancestor Mo smiled apathetically. Must? Elder Ancestor Mo answered neither slowly nor quickly, but angered Dongfang Xian to almost spit out blood. At this moment, Dongfang Xian's hand at his side clenched into fists, with the veins protruding out. But he did his best to endure before finally saying coldly, Elder Ancestor Mo, why should you persistently continue to pressure? In fact, the little stone also didn't want to fight with him. His body hadn't fused completely with Elder Ancestor Mo's body. Now, Dongfang Xian's strength had grown, so his chance of winning was only 50-50. But what's interesting was that Dongfang Xian didn't know Elder Ancestor Mo's current situation. He still regarded Elder Ancestor Mo as someone at the summit of saint rank. Therefore, he had a lot of restrained fear, with his hands and legs tied. You can choose to leave, the little stone's deeply cold voice slowly said. Dongfang Xian was extremely mad. With great difficulty, he had finally caught Su Luo after a long chase. Must he really let her go? Really wasn't willing. All of a sudden, a trace of suspicion flashed through Dongfang Xian's eyes, and he said, seeing that last time, Master gave you a space bag, won't you be flexible for this one time? Chapter 1748, Eight-Clawed Strange Water Creature 2. The little stone replied straightforwardly. But, although he was refused, Dongfang Xian's gaze slowly lit up. In the end, it was bright as the stars. You're not Elder Ancestor Mo. Dongfang Xian's tone was very certain. Su Luo secretly said not good in her heart. Never expected that the little stone's matter would so quickly be exposed. It could be assumed that it was that sentence from before. He heard some clues from the little stone's answer. Faced with Dongfang Xian's certain tone, the little stone was non-committal. Only the mockery at the corner of his mouth became even stronger. Tell me in the end, who are you? Where did the real Elder Ancestor Mo go? How did you enter Elder Ancestor Mo's body? Dongfang Xian's tone had a trace of decoding a mystery. This was very important to him, because this meant that he could also refine out a strong expert as his puppet. Elder Ancestor Mo's pair of pitch-black, deriding eyes glanced at him, using the kind of gaze of looking at an idiot to glance at him. Dongfang Xian responded only after sensing this fact. His gaze landed on Su Luo's body. "This is your puppet." Su Luo had both hands crossed over her chest, looked at him with a ghost of a smile. She didn't nod or shake her head. "Do you want to fight? If not, we'll be leaving," Su Luo very kindly reminded him. With the additional appearance of Elder Ancestor Mo, Dongfang Xian really didn't know what he ought to do. Because of his original restrained fear towards Elder Ancestor Mo, at this moment, he ought to leave and stay far away from here. But he finally caught up to Su Luo after a very difficult chase. How could his heart be willing to let go? Just when Dongfang Xian was hesitating, Elder Ancestor Mo suddenly moved. A scarlet-red lava warped towards Dongfang Xian. No one expected that Elder Ancestor Mo would take a preemptive strike. Even Dongfang Xian didn't expect it, so he didn't react in the beginning. In fact, he didn't know that the moment Elder Ancestor Mo appeared, Su Luo and Elder Ancestor Mo had already decided Dongfang Xian must be killed to seal his mouth. If the matter of Elder Ancestor Mo being controlled by Su Luo was spread out, the consequences would be very serious. Therefore, in this secret roaming dragon territory, Dongfang Xian must die. Faced with Elder Ancestor Mo's attack that approached with strong momentum, after Dongfang Xian's attention swayed, he very quickly gave a response. Endless ice and snow spread towards that flaming lava. Both sides met together in midair. Ice and fire were innately opposite. This forced each other to disappear. They had just begun the fight when a different expression flashed through Dongfang Xian's eyes. This Elder Ancestor Mo's strength, had it atrophied? Actually wasn't as strong as what he knew. Could it be that after becoming a puppet, strength would decline by a level? From saint rank reduced to commander level? Dongfang Xian's heart was full of questions, but these questions, only Su Luo could answer them. Therefore, Dongfang Xian decided that after this battle, he would seize Su Luo and interrogate her for the answers until he understood. The two people fought in midair. The wind from their palm strikes whistled by. Occasionally, ice would freeze over the world, and occasionally, lava would surge. The fight was very intense. Underneath, Su Luo had her arms crossed over her chest, eyes half narrowed. Her gaze was staring at the battle situation. The situation seemed to be pretty good. Elder Ancestor Mo was slightly stronger than Dongfang Xian. So, he had a 60% of winning, adding to the fact that the little stone was a super strong expert from countless years ago. His fighting experience was unmatched. Therefore, the little stone had another 10% chance of winning. In total, he had a 70% grasp of winning. Then, as long as the little stone didn't make a mistake, then the victor of this battle would definitely be Su Luo's side. Su Luo watched with interest this battle that broke new grounds. Her heart had a faint comprehension, and just at this moment a misfortune suddenly occurred. Chapter 1749, 8-clawed strange water creature 3. One only saw, behind Su Luo, in the middle of the peaceful black river, a strange water creature slowly stretch out its head to scout out. Its silver-white gaze stared coldly at the two battling in midair. Its gaze was exceptionally cold. Soon after, its gaze shifted down, in the end, fixing on Su Luo's body. The split second it saw Su Luo, one could clearly see its nose move. Such a fragrant smell. The strange water creature with 8 tentacles looked suspiciously at Su Luo. It was somewhat puzzled. In its impression, the human race's meat was sour, astringent, and very unpalatable. But how could that human race's body give off such a delicious smell? Just like the most delicious food in the world. A string of saliva hung at the 8-tentacled strange water creature's mouth. The saliva flowed down, drip by drip, landing on the lake's surface. A ripple immediately appeared on the originally peaceful lake's surface. One after another, circular ripples spread out. Afterwards, the head it stuck out to check suddenly lowered. The surface of the lake suddenly lost traces of it. Its disappearance was like its appearance, not attracting anyone's attention. But if you noticed it, you would discover that after an instant, its ugly head once again scouted out and was exposed above the surface of the lake. And at this time, he was a distance of less than 10 meters from Suluo. And Suluo, just as luck would have it, stood at the lake's bank with her back to the lake. Right now, she watched the battle of experts at the summit with rapt attention while holding her breath. Her heart was faintly stirred by a bit of understanding, but that inspiration flitted by. It disappeared too quickly, so Suluo simply couldn't catch it. Now, she was trying nonstop to recall that inspiration, trying to remember what it was. Just when Suluo sunk into this state, suddenly a slight noise rose her from her thoughts, and Suluo's head subconsciously turned to look. This glance almost scared Suluo silly. She saw that less than a meter away was a huge head coming towards her. That huge mouth, sharp fangs, and sinister appearance of dripping with saliva. It made one thing very clear. This ugly thing was about to swallow her alive. Now, it was already too late to evade. Suluo subconsciously tossed the source stones in her space into that 8-tentacled hobgoblin's mouth. Suluo thought that since she couldn't evade it, then she must try to block that 8-tentacled strange water creature's mouth. As long as its mouth was blocked, then she would be relatively safe. Just now, under such an urgent situation, if it was changed to an average person, that person's hands and feet would have already gone soft. If they didn't faint, they would have been scared silly. But Suluo maintained a calm and composed manner, and even used such an excellent move. The 8-tentacled strange water creature never expected that wanting to swallow a person, but when it returned to its senses, it discovered that its mouth was full of large stones. Moreover, the fangs it was most proud of was smashed until it bled. While the 8-tentacled strange water creature was distracted, Suluo had already retreated far, far away. She stood outside of the attack range of the 8-tentacled strange water creature. Suluo had already calculated the attack range of the 8-tentacled strange water creature. She knew the 8-tentacled hobgoblin didn't like to show up on dry land, but she still underestimated its tentacles. Now, the 8-tentacled hobgoblin was extremely angry, and the tentacles extended 30 meters, suddenly shooting out. It directly encircled towards Suluo's waist. The long tentacles came with a strong momentum, making it too late for people to avoid. Really powerful 8-tentacled strange water creature. Suluo cried out in alarm. If she didn't guess wrong, before, that thing in the bottom of the river that always gave her a sense of danger must be this 8-tentacled strange water creature. Chapter 1750. So painful, don't want to live one. In the blink of an eye, Suluo had already started to fight with the 8-tentacled strange water creature. But when she started to move, she discovered that the situation wasn't good. Because the 8-tentacled strange water creature's strength wasn't weaker than Dongfang Xian's. After one attack, Suluo's figure quickly retreated back. Not only didn't the 8-tentacled strange water creature retreat, instead, it even aggressively rushed forward. Its thick and long tentacle fiercely wrapped towards Suluo's waist. Its speed was very fast. Before Suluo could react, its tentacle had already wrapped around Suluo's waist. Afterwards, one only saw its long tentacle move slightly, and Suluo's entire body was bound tightly. Immediately after, the tentacle pulled Suluo, who was bound up like a cocoon, to in front of the 8-tentacled strange water creature. Suluo didn't have any strength to resist. The saliva at the 8-tentacled strange water creature's mouth dripped out nonstop. That saliva had a stinky smell that made people want to vomit. Seeing this, Suluo almost threw up. But now, her body was bound into a statue. She had no control over her own body. 8-tentacled strange water creature pulled the wrapped-up Suluo to in front of its wide, bloody mouth. Its deeply cold eyes stared at Suluo, eyes flashing with an apathetic and mocking sneer, as if to say, see where you can run to. In the end, you still couldn't escape from the palm of my hand, right? At this moment, Dongfang Xian and Elder Ancestor Mo's fight was at its most intense phase. By chance, he saw this situation, and his heart immediately rejoiced. Quickly eat, quickly eat, quickly eat. Dongfang Xian eagerly cheered on the eight-tentacled strange water creature in his heart. If the eight-tentacled strange water creature ate Su Luo, then he would definitely reward this strange water creature's hard labor. Watching just as the eight-tentacled strange water creature was about to deliver the tightly bound Su Luo, who was without any strength to resist, into its mouth at this moment, a little fox with sparkling, translucent snow-white fur appeared on Su Luo's shoulder. One only saw it arrogantly howl at the eight-tentacled strange water creature. The nine-tailed spirit fox was best at transform into sheep technique. Ever since using this technique last time in the 9 different palace halls, its strength hadn't been restored. Now, in the critical moment when Su Luo was between life and death, it finally could use this technique. Although the eight-tentacled strange water creature's strength was a lot greater than the little nine-tailed spirit fox, but the little nine-tailed spirit fox's transform into sheep technique could be used on higher ranks. Of course, the stronger the opponent, the shorter the time the transform into sheep technique would last. While the eight-tentacled strange water creature stared blankly, it suddenly discovered that its body started to change. Its originally large, ugly, and fiend-like body, in an instant, changed into a little sheep that continuously cried out, "Bah." This kind of gap was too big, to the extent that the eight-tentacled strange water creature couldn't react. It looked at itself in stupefaction. One only heard a pop sound, and the eight-tentacled strange water creature that was changed into a little sheep sank into the dark lake. Its whole body was soaked, the white-colored fur was stuck to its skin, making it look extremely bedraggled. But what about Su Luo? Just when the little nine-tailed spirit fox was howling, Su Luo had guessed it was going to use transform into sheep technique. Therefore, she had already made preparations. Just when the eight-tentacled strange water creature released its grip, the Chungying sword in Su Luo's hand suddenly shot towards that little sheep's throat. Opportunity only knocks once. Want to inflict heavy damage to the eight-tentacled strange water creature. Su Luo only had this tight opportunity. Sure enough, before the eight-tentacled strange water creature had realized, it was transformed into a little sheep and had already been attacked by Su Luo. The Chungying sword was very ruthless and accurate, giving off bright light. The eight-tentacled strange water creature was worthy of being at the summit of commander rank. Although it had changed into a little sheep, its perception of danger was still very strong. Chapter 1751. So painful, don't want to live too. Just when Chungying's sword was about to pierce its throat, its figure subconsciously avoided. Although Chungying's sword didn't pierce its throat, it cut away a little less than half of its head. Immediately, blood rushed out. The dark green lake surface was suddenly dyed red by the scarlet blood. Circles after circles of blood floated onto the lake surface. After this attack, Su Luo's figure quickly sped along, backing away. At this moment, her thoughts were complicated. Didn't kill the eight-tentacled strange water creature in one move. Then, what awaited her was the opponent's crazed retaliation. But Su Luo didn't come up completely empty. At least she inflicted heavy damage on the opponent. At this moment, the transform into sheep technique had reached its time limit. One only heard a wrathful howl, and the very small sheep dyed in blood, in the blink of an eye, had changed into that huge and ugly eight-tentacled strange water creature. Now, a huge piece was cut off from the strange water creature's head, to the extent that even one of its eye was cut off. Blood flowed down the cheek, drop by drop mixing together with that stinky saliva. That eerie eye stared fixedly at Su Luo, really horrifying people. Su Luo increased her strides and sped away, not daring to stop. But how could the eight-tentacled strange water creature so easily let Su Luo go? One only saw its figure pounce madly towards Su Luo, fast as lightning. Su Luo felt a cold chill on her back. She sensed danger approaching, and as a result, subconsciously looked back only this one glance, and her heart felt chilled. Wasn't it said that the eight-tentacled strange water creature couldn't leave the dark lake? Then what's up with this eight-tentacled strange water creature that flew up like a dragon? That speed was so fast that Su Luo had the urge to cry. Just at this moment, a long tentacle very quickly attacked towards Su Luo's pair of feet. This time, the eight-tentacled strange water creature chose Su Luo's feet rather than her waist. The variant acacia tree rushed out, the thick vine giving off a golden light grab towards that thick tentacle. Momentarily, a tentacle, a green vine, met and intertwined, starting an intense fight. Su Luo didn't stop. In a flying manner, she rushed forward. As long as she ran out of the eight-tentacled strange water creature's attack range, she would be safe. But the strength difference between the variant acacia tree and the eight-tentacled strange water creature was too great. Therefore, in less than a few moves, the vine that the variant acacia tree was so proud of was fractured into countless pieces about the size of an inch. In the end, it turned into a golden powder that disappeared into the air. Su Luo knew that that was only one vine from the variant acacia tree. Its core was still being nourished in her space. So this fight didn't affect its life at all. But wanting to once again condense out a golden vine, it must restore its strength to the original state. Afraid it would need a lot of time, just at this moment, the eight-tentacled, strange water creature's tentacle had already appeared behind Su Luo. This time, Su Luo really had no way of avoiding it. All of a sudden, the eight-tentacled, strange water creature's tentacle became longer, extending another 3 meters in an instant. Like this, how could Su Luo escape? One only saw the tentacle tightly bind around Su Luo's feet. Before Su Luo could react, it suspended Su Luo's body high in the air. The pitiful Su Luo became a captive just like this. This time, the eight-tentacled strange water creature really was extremely infuriated, so it showed no quarter. Suddenly, a barbed tip grew on the originally smooth tentacle. The barbed tip was like a slender needle, giving off a deep cold light. Chapter 1752. So painful, don't want to live 3. Every hair like needle stabbed into Su Luo's foot. It was so painful that Su Luo sucked in a breath of cold air. If it was only the hair like needles, then fine, but the problem was that every needle hair had a barbed tip. Once it entered a person's body, want to quickly pull it out, it was so painful that you might want to just die. In addition to this, the eight-tentacled strange water creatures, I had a trace of killing intent. That I had an incomparably sinister expression. The tentacle suddenly gave a toss, and Su Luo's figure appeared in front of the eight-tentacled strange water creature. Now, all at once, 8 tentacles extended out from the eight-tentacled strange water creature. They were very thick and powerful. All 8 tentacles had barbed tips. In an instant, they all engulfed towards Su Luo's body, firmly wrapping her inside. This time, Su Luo was bound tightly from head to toe. Her body couldn't move a bit. Moreover, those densely packed fine hair needles entered Su Luo's body. Su Luo's willpower against pain was very strong. But under these kind of circumstances, one could see her face turn pale from the pain. Cold sweat poured down like raindrops. Her whole body couldn't stop convulsing because of the pain, struggling and twisting. Really was very painful. Su Luo bit down with a death grip on her teeth, her whole body shuddering nonstop because of the pain. Such a ruthless eight-tentacled strange water creature. It was trying to kill her with pain. Now, Su Luo's whole body was covered in blood. Although every wound was very fine, but because there were numerous wounds, so the blood that seeped out merged together. Just like now, her light-colored clothing was full of specks of red that were bloodstains. It was a shocking sight. In fact, right now Su Luo was also very miserable. She almost fainted from the pain. If no one came to save her, Su Luo would definitely die from too much pain and blood loss. But who could save her now? The Varian acacia tree now couldn't save itself, let alone others. After the service from before, its cultivation had greatly decreased. It needed a lot of time before having all its strength restored. After the nine-tailed spirit fox used the transform into sheep technique, wasting a majority of its spirit force, it was now laying next to the spirit spring in her space, gasping for breath with her tongue sticking out. Therefore, Su Luo also couldn't count on it. As for the little stone, not far. Dongfang Xian's fight with the little stone was at an irresolvable stage. Now, the two both found time to look towards Su Luo's situation. After one glance, the little stone's brows were tightly knotted. The little stone's brain was very good. After his careful and accurate calculation, wait until he defeated Dongfang Xian. Su Luo would be thoroughly dead. If Su Luo was dead, then what was the meaning of winning this battle? Compared to the little stone's displeasure, Dongfang Xian's mood was a lot happier. Right now, he was so excited that he almost laughed out loud. Both feet being suspended, it was the first time Dongfang Xian saw this kind of bedraggled Su Luo. This time, how could the loathsome girl not die? Dongfang Xian wouldn't believe it. Even if Su Luo was a cat with 9 lives, this time, she certainly would die. Just when Dongfang Xian was extremely pleased, suddenly, he felt his hand become relaxed. When he looked again, Elder Ancestor Mo's figure had already disappeared from in front of him. Dongfang Xian looked ahead. Sure enough, Elder Ancestor Mo's figure had already flown to in front of the 8-tentacled strange water creature. Humph! A sinister and vicious light appeared in Dongfang Xian's eyes. Originally, he couldn't beat Elder Ancestor Mo, but now, all of his attention was on the 8-tentacled strange water creature. Didn't this give him the best opportunity to mount a sneak attack? The more Dongfang Xian thought about it, the prouder he was and the more brilliant his smile was. Chapter 1753. Self-detonate one's body. 1. The 8-tentacled strange water creature stared at the little stone with a face full of hatred. The little stone also glared very fiercely at the opponent. Right now, his heart was incomparably indignant. Heaven knows when he was at the summit of his strength. What did this 8-tentacled strange water creature count as? It wasn't even worthy of lifting his shoes. Now, he was even helpless when killing such an insignificant ant and would have to battle for a long time. Dongfang Xian's figure slowly approached Elder Ancestor Mo. Although Su Luo was in so much pain she was hovering between life and death, but she was still clear-headed. She saw Dongfang Xian noiselessly approach Elder Ancestor Mo's back. Immediately, alarm appeared in her eyes. The strength she saved bit by bit immediately exploded out. "Careful!" Su Luo loudly screamed. But now, even if the little stone wanted to avoid, it was already too late. The 8-tentacled strange water creature's wisdom was very high. When it saw Dongfang Xian mounting a sneak attack, a pleased expression flashed across its sinister face. One only saw it condense out its most powerful killing move, smashing it fiercely towards the little stone's face. This move, the 8-tentacled strange water creature used all its strength. The little stone used 70% of his strength to meet with the 8-tentacled strange water creature's move. The remaining 30% was used to deal with Dongfang Xian. In an instant, one only heard the sounds of collusion. Because of the friction in the air, one could hear sizzling sounds. The force in the surroundings was so great as to startle the heavens. Bang! The little stone faced the 8-tentacled strange water creature straight on. After both people met, they retreated. The 8-tentacled strange water creature's body rocked violently. The blood that had stopped flowing, with great difficulty, once again erupted out like spring water. It coughed out blood nonstop, very quickly. Its face and body were full of bloodstains. But it still had a death grip on Su Luo, refusing to let go. Compared to the 8-tentacled strange water creature, the little stone was a little better off. He only retreated back 3 steps before his figure became firm. Then, at this time, Dongfang Xian's attack was already close to his back. With an intense sound that broke through the sky, Dongfang Xian's palm strike suddenly slapped into the little stone's back. The little stone only saved 30% of his strength to defend, but Dongfang Xian used all his strength in this hit. How great was that force, one could well imagine. His back received the hit, and the little stone's figure swayed violently. Soon after, he continuously hit out with his palm. But the opponent he hit wasn't Dongfang Xian. Rather, it was the 8-tentacled strange water creature. The 8-tentacled strange water creature thought the little stone would turn to chase down Dongfang Xian for revenge. But before it could return to its senses, the little stone's fist fell like the rain. A burst of pitter-patter sounds resounded nonstop. The 8-tentacled strange water creature originally was seriously injured. Before it could return to its senses, the little stone's burst of fists beat it into confusion. Moreover, this time, the little stone didn't reserve any strength. All of the little stone's strength was used on its body. One only heard a bang sound. The 8-tentacled strange water creature no longer had the strength to confine Su Luo. Therefore, Su Luo's figure fell to the ground, recovering her freedom. But just at this time, Dongfang Xian rushed up again. But he didn't even bother looking at Su Luo, directly hitting towards the little stone. Probably because he felt that as long as he killed the little stone, Su Luo would fall into his packet. With regards to Dongfang Xian's attack, the little stone once again couldn't pay attention to it. Just when Dongfang Xian's fist smashed down, the little stone's fist ruthlessly smashed towards the 8-tentacled strange water creature. Immediately, the dying 8-tentacled strange water creature died on the spot. Its eyes flipped out, dying with grievances in its expression. It looked extremely miserable, but the little stone wasn't any better off. His back endured Dongfang Xian's formidable attacks. Chapter 1754. Self-detonate one's body. 2. Just when the 8-tentacled strange water creature collapsed, the little stone's body flew forward from being hit by Dongfang Xian. In the end, he heavily fell to the ground. Dongfang Xian looked at the dead 8-tentacled strange water creature and secretly said bad luck. Then, he took large strides, step by step, approaching the little stone. The corner of his mouth had an arrogant sneer intrinsic to a winner. This time, the little stone was injured rather seriously, so it took him quite a while of struggling to stand up. Dongfang Xian looked down from high above, the corner of his mouth hooking into a ridiculing sneer. Whether you are elder ancestor Mo or not, this time you must die. The little stone gasped for breath and coldly looked at him. Dongfang Xian condensed out an ice sword in his hand. The ice sword gave off a cold light under the sunlight. While the little stone was climbing up, the cold long sword quietly stabbed out. One only heard a snapping sound. The little stone's right arm was directly cut off. Fortunately, the little stone was quick to avoid. Otherwise, what was cut off would have been his head. Su Luo was so anxious, tears were about to fall. But now, she was laying on the ground, unable to move, let alone to say, "Go out and help." The long arm was cut off, giving off a clear sound when it fell to the ground. But the little stone didn't even frown, as if this arm had nothing to do with him. Dongfang Xian succeeded in one move and became more savage. One only saw his lips hook into a sinister smile. His eyes were full of mockery and a ridiculing smile. Didn't expect you were only so-so. Then next year today will be the anniversary of your death. Dongfang Xian waved his sword and thrust out. The little stone's brows were tightly knotted. The weak body was forced to fall back. But although he spared no effort, he still couldn't resist Dongfang Xian's attack at his peak. A white light flashed by. A long wound was slashed on the little stone's chest. The blood rushed out, following the wound. In an instant, the jacket in front of his chest was dyed red from the blood. Even like this, the little stone didn't even frown, as if this long and deep wound didn't appear on his body. Dongfang Xian looked at such a firm little stone, and the killing intent became more fervent in his eyes. Because he knew that if a person was very ruthless to others, it didn't matter. If a person was very ruthless to himself, that's what's called really ruthless. This kind of person was a very terrifying existence. The heart to retaliate would be even stronger. If he didn't kill the opponent, then what awaited him would be endless retaliation. Therefore, Dongfang Xian made a decision. No matter what, he must kill this person in front of him, because he gave Dongfang Xian a deep restrained fear. Dongfang Xian unfolded his left hand, and suddenly another sword appeared. One sword in each of his left and right hand. The power was completely increased. The sword danced in Dongfang Xian's hand. Each move had a destructive power that would be fatal. It relentlessly attacked towards the little stone. The little stone dodged to the left and avoided on the right, panting for breath, surrounded by perils all around. Several times, he almost lost his life under Dongfang Xian's hand, but he avoided it all by a hair's breadth. However, more and more traces of sword scars would appear on his body. It was also because the little stone could avoid it time and time again, so Dongfang Xian's killing intent rose. His moves became increasingly powerful and bold. Suddenly, the little stone's foot stumbled. In one careless moment, he fell to the ground. The fall made him cut a very sorry figure. At this moment, his escape route, front, back, left, and right, were all sealed off by Dongfang Xian, as if the only road left was to die. Now, see where you can ran to. Dongfang Xian knew that even if wings were inserted into Elder Ancestor MO, now he still couldn't escape. Chapter 1755. Self-detonate one's body 3. From Dongfang Xian's point of view, Elder Ancestor MO had already reached a dead end. He didn't have any strength to resist. According to conventional thinking, if he still had strength, would he have allowed him to cut off one of his arms? The proud Dongfang Xian didn't see the mocking sneer that flashed through the little stone's eyes. Just when Dongfang Xian was about to use another killing move, at this moment, a misfortune occurred. One only saw Elder Ancestor Mo's body suddenly spring up like a bullet, exploding towards Dongfang Xian. A trace of surprise flashed through Dongfang Xian's eyes. Before he could put away his surprise, the little stone had already rushed to in front of him. One only heard a violent exploding sound that penetrated through the earth and sky. It was as if hundreds of kilograms of explosives were tied to Elder Ancestor Mo's body. And these explosives were all ignited at the same time, in a split second, detonating simultaneously. A countless number of flames soared to the sky, making a huge area densely black. Elder Ancestor Mo's body disintegrated from the explosion. A countless number of mincemeat flew and splattered in all directions. Dongfang Xian, who was closest to Elder Ancestor Mo, now had no time to attend to himself. Because Elder Ancestor Mo had rushed in front of him and deliberately exploded, how could he let Dongfang Xian escape? Dongfang Xian received an intense attack. He did his best to endure, but in the end, he still coughed out loud violently. Then with an "oh" sound, blood violently sprayed out. Spitting out several mouthfuls of blood was fine, but this time, Dongfang Xian almost spit out his internal organs. It could be seen how large of an impact was brought to his body when Elder Ancestor Mo chose to detonate his body. Dongfang Xian didn't have time to think carefully, let alone glance at Su Luo. Immediately, he sat down with legs crossed, both eyes closed tightly, quickly entering the restoring state. If he delayed even a bit, it would greatly affect his cultivation. At this moment, not far away, Su Luo stared stupefied at the carnage on the ground because of self-detonation. A burst of sadness couldn't help but rush up from the heart. But before it could brew into a sorrowful mood, a cold, strong, and arrogant voice sounded in her mind. "Cry, what cry? This daddy still haven't died yet." Although she was scolded, but this time, Su Luo was extremely happy. She excitedly talked with the little stone in her mind. "It turned out you didn't die, ah? Since you didn't die, then speak a little earlier, ah? Why harm me to be so broken-hearted?" The little stone unhappily humped twice. This young master is in a state of nothingness but a soul. Do you think self-exploding will have any effect on this young master? Even if everyone in the world died, this young master still won't die. The little stone patted his chest, full of self-confidence. Of course, that's ignoring his pale as paper face. This sentence that the little stone spoke wasn't wrong. He originally was in a nothingness state and just a soul state. He really was a cockroach you couldn't kill. Su Luo rolled her eyes at him in annoyance. Why did you explode your body, If I don't self-explode, then I should wait for that person to kill me? The little stone unhappily glared at Su Luo. Why are you wasting words? This daddy used one flesh and blood body to pave the road for you. Why haven't you hurriedly run? You think that waiting until that person wakes up, you will still have your life? The little stone was her people, so he understood her. Before, there was Varian Acacia Tree, little nine-tailed spirit fox, and he who occupied elder ancestor Mo's body to help Su Luo. So she was able to avert disaster time and time again. Time and time again, she would break through being besieged. But now, everyone was either wounded or trying to restore cultivation. There wasn't anyone that could help Su Luo. So right now, the best method was for Su Luo to quickly run without delay. Taking advantage that Dongfang Xian's mind hadn't awoken from cultivation, how far she was able to run, then that was how far she should run. Chapter 1756, The World in the Bottom of the Lake. 1. Just now, because of your body's explosion, Dongfang Xian's injury certainly should be very serious. If I seize the opportunity to get rid of him now. Su Luo licked her chapped lips, eyes glistening brightly because of this thought. Let this idea go as soon as possible. The little stone wasn't a bit optimistic about Su Luo. Don't think that just because he is restoring his body, you should deliberately go up and court death. Let me tell you, as long as you make one move, Dongfang Xian can kill you in one move. Su Luo sucked in a long breath. Could it be she would be forever fated to flee for her life? Did her lifeline carry the fate of being cut short? Su Luo had no choice but to listen to the little stone's words, because facts proved that every word he said was right. Just when Su Luo was about to flee, Dongfang Xian slowly opened his eyes. Shit, actually recovered so quickly. Immediately, Su Luo was anxious. Dongfang Xian's deeply cold, sinister gaze stared at Su Luo. The corner of his mouth suddenly hooked into a charming but evil smile, making people feel horror when looking at it. Su Luo's hair stood on ends because of being stared at, as her blood turned cold. Su Luo didn't even think and directly tossed the wooden board into the black lake. Then, she quickly rushed forward. Su Luo's ability to flee for her life had always been the most outstanding among her strong points. Dongfang Xian saw Su Luo step on the board speeding away, and his face that was covered with scars had a smile that became increasingly dark, cold, and horrifying. Flee? Loathsome girl? You think you can flee from me? Dongfang Xian lifted up his long, thin finger, stroking the scars on his face that would be hard to remove. Hatred covered his entire face in an instant. Dongfang Xian didn't draw support from any outside object. One only saw his figure flashed. When one looked again, he had already appeared above the peaceful black lake. Up ahead, Su Luo staked her life to flee. Behind, Dongfang Xian pursued relentlessly, unwilling to let go. But the situation right now was very unfavorable to Su Luo, because before, she was seriously wounded. Although she used the best medicine, moreover, her own blood had the effect of self-healing, but time was far from enough for her to recover completely. Therefore, while Su Luo was fleeing, she also had to endure the pain of being seriously injured. Dongfang Xian's recovery speed was very fast, although he hadn't recovered to his peak period at this moment. But to deal with the seriously injured Su Luo was more than enough. Up ahead, they had almost reached the opposite bank of the lake. Su Luo's heart rejoiced. All of a sudden, At this moment, Dongfang Xian's figure appeared in front of Su Luo. Su Luo abruptly came to a halt. If she didn't stop, she would directly knock into Dongfang Xian's pair of long swords. Loathsome girl, what other trump cards do you have? Take it all out. Dongfang Xian stood above the peaceful black lake. His gaze was cold and hidden as he stared at Su Luo. His eyes were full of a murderous aura, and he had an overbearing attitude. In the wake of Su Luo's trump cards appearing one after another, she had slipped away time and time again. Dongfang Xian really was afraid of Su Luo's cards. Su Luo's heart was anxious, but her expression still was tranquil as water. One only saw her smile faintly. Could it be you aren't afraid? I'm afraid? Huh? Dongfang Xian howled with laughter. His wide sleeves lifted up as he looked at Su Luo with frost. If you have the ability, take out and use all of your trump cards. What if I don't want to use it? Su Luo's smile was the same as before. Then just go die. A killing intent appeared in Dongfang Xian's eyes. One only saw his hands form a complicated seal, and very quickly, ice blades shot towards Su Luo from all directions. Because he was afraid Su Luo still had some trump cards, so this time, Dongfang Xian used all his strength. 100% of his power exploded out. Even if the little stone was to encounter this, it would be unbearable for him, let alone to save Su Luo. Su Luo watched as those ice blades surged over like the tide. She knew that if she didn't avoid it, then what awaited her was being stabbed and looking like a hedgehog. But around her, besides those motionless creatures, actually didn't have any aura that was moving about. In the end, what is this place? Su Luo lifted her head to look, but at this time, she simply couldn't see clearly what's above her head. She only felt that the surroundings was an area that was pitch black, didn't seem to be like the bottom of a lake. Secret room. The little stone rolled his eyes in annoyance at Su Luo. Then under Su Luo's expectant gaze, he helplessly told her that during her unconsciousness, she was carried by the flow of the water into this cave formed from lava. What a big lava cave, don't know how it was formed. Su Luo looked at this massive lava cave and couldn't help but gasp in surprise. Who would have known that there was another universe under the lake? The little stone looked at this cave. Afterwards, his brows were tightly knotted. What? Could it be you have some clues? Seeing that the little stone had a rare frown, Su Luo smilingly asked. She originally said the words casually, but outside of her expectations, the little stone actually replied. A fist smashed it out. How else could it have formed? The little stone slanted a faint glance at Su Luo and said this without thinking. Chapter 1758. The World in the Bottom of the Lake 3. You really know? Su Luo looked at him in surprise. Whose fist is so strong? Actually, with one hit made such a huge lava cave? The little stone said faintly, if I didn't guess wrongly, it ought to be a battle god puppet. But even if I said battle god puppet, you probably don't have any concept of what it is. Because this kind of battle god puppet has already disappeared from the world. Really? Su Luo felt a slight regret. You really shouldn't feel regret. If a battle god puppet still remained here, then we both would die for certain. Little Stone unhappily slanted Su Luo a glance. A battle god puppet's territorial sense is very intense. Moreover, its battle sense is very strong. Really? Su Luo whispered this the second time. Just when the two were murmuring, suddenly, not far away came the sound of footsteps. What things? Su Luo's pair of eyes was innocent and bewildered. Who knew that at this time, the little stone shouted at Su Luo, "Shut up." Su Luo stared blankly from being shouted at. She foolishly stared at the little stone. But right now, the little stone was more stirred up than her. Don't speak. What happened? Su Luo used her mind to carefully have a conversation with the little stone. really was because the little stone's attitude's change was too great. In Su Luo's impression, the little stone hadn't ever been this careful. Snap, snap, this sound was becoming clearer and clearer. The little stone's complexion immediately became abnormally pale. What's wrong? Su Luo's mood was also affected by his, and she couldn't help but start to be nervous. You are toast. The little stone very fiercely roared at Su Luo in a low voice. What kind of luck do you have, Actually dare to boast you have good luck? On the street, randomly pulling over a person, and their luck is 100 times better than yours. The little stone's anger was vigorous, but Su Luo was still puzzled. Even up till now, she still didn't know what happened. In the end, what was the little stone angry about? In the wake of the snapping sound coming closer and closer, the little stone finally said, if I didn't guess wrongly, this sound ought to be given off by the battle god puppet. You, Su Luo was jolted. Battle god puppet? Didn't you say that battle god puppets no longer exist in this world? This was something he had just said. It was still hot. How long had it been? Immediately having your face slapped. The little stone arrogantly glared at Su Luo. Here is secret roaming dragon territory and not the mainland. Moreover, how would I have known that after so many years, this battle god puppet hasn't been scrapped? Then you say, what ought we do now? Su Luo spread out her hands, able to smash out such a large lava cave with one hit of its fist. How strong must that strength be? Afraid it would be stronger than even Dongfang Xian. Why are you still staring blankly? Quickly run, The little stone hurriedly urged Su Luo. Su Luo's face was full of awkwardness, because the only road to continue living was on the lake surface. But on the lake surface, Dongfang Xian surely had set up a trap, waiting for her to take the bait. If she went up, wasn't this walking directly into the trap? Just when Su Luo was hesitating, the little stone's sharp voice sounded in her mind. Battle god puppet's awareness of its territory is very sharp. Moreover, its strength can only be stronger than Dongfang Xian and not weaker. What do you choose? Strength that was stronger than Dongfang Xian? Su Luo was so depressed that she almost spit out blood. Now, arranged in front of Su Luo was to choose a road with the chance of dying 9 times out of 10. Let's run! Su Luo helplessly turned around and hurriedly ran away. Chapter 1759, Battle God Puppet 1. While Su Luo was running, she also turned her head back to look. When she saw that battle god puppet with only skeleton remaining, her eyes almost dropped out from staring. She only saw that this battle god puppet was about 3 meters tall. Its whole body was slim without any flesh. It only had a white-colored bone frame to create a human figure. Although the frame appeared simple, but it gave people a terrifying feeling. At least, only having glanced at it once, Su Luo felt all her hairs stand on ends. That battle god puppet seemed to have awareness. When Su Luo's head turned to look at him, it lifted its pair of eyes that was blood red, like a dense blood fog, misty and reeking of blood. Just one glance made Su Luo dizzy. Not only that, this battle god puppet actually gave a burst of strange laughter towards Su Luo. That chuckle made all the hair on Su Luo's body stand up straight. Su Luo didn't have time to think more. She immediately turned and ran upwards toward the surface. Compared to Dongfang Xian, this battle god puppet was more terrifying. At least when faced with Dongfang Xian, Su Luo could use schemes and intelligence. But faced with this extremely powerful, strong, buff guy puppet in front of her that only spoke with its fist, Su Luo was simply powerless. Before, those injuries Su Luo received had gradually healed. Now, her movements weren't affected by those injuries at all. Very quickly, she arrived at the surface of the lake. Behind, she had the battle god puppet pursuing, unwilling to let go. On the lake shore, There was Dongfang Xian staring fixedly, waiting. This time, what she must do was to take her time to make a decision, but Su Luo didn't have this time. Su Luo didn't have time to think. Her body suddenly soared out of the Black Lake. Dongfang Xian had already sensed this slight fluctuations. He was very familiar with Su Luo's aura. So, he immediately guessed it was Su Luo. A strong killing move hacked ruthlessly towards Su Luo's forehead. But Dongfang Xian still underestimated Su Luo. Right now, almost all of Su Luo's injuries were completely healed. At a time of life and death, Su Luo once again soared to the fastest speed. Therefore, when Dongfang Xian released this killing move, Su Luo's body twisted and directly leaned to the right. Then, did Dongfang Xian's move go to waste? It really didn't. Not only wasn't this killing move by Dongfang Xian wasted, moreover, it was of great use. It could be said it impacted the most critical juncture that would affect the success or failure of the battle situation in the future. Su Luo avoided it. But behind Su Luo, there was still a pitiful battle god puppet, okay? Just after Su Luo avoided it, and before Dongfang Xian's killing move landed, the battle god puppet had foolishly popped out. One only heard a loud clang sound. This killing move directly landed on the battle god puppet's forehead. Afterwards, greenish smoke emerged from its forehead. Dongfang Xian was also struck dumb seeing this. He was in disbelief, looking at that thing whose head had just emerged and was smashed back into the water. In fact, because that killing move exploded too fast, Dongfang Xian simply didn't have time to see clearly what that thing was. Su Luo's head turned back and discovered that the battle god puppet was knocked unconscious by just one move from Dongfang Xian. She couldn't help but to be flabbergasted. Isn't the battle god puppet a bit too weak? Su Luo's pair of eyes blinked. If she had known earlier that the battle god puppet would collapse from one blow, why would she have had to run so hurriedly? Since it was just one face-to-face, and it was slapped back into the bottom of the lake. But at this time, the little stone also looked at the ripple on the Black Lake's surface with disbelief. Clearly, that puppet gave him a sense that it was very strong, okay? The little stone's expression darkened, then lightened in indeterminate manner. Suddenly, a light flashed through the little stone's eyes. Chapter 1760, Battle God Puppet 2, Quickly Go Back. The little stone loudly shouted at Su Luo. This tone was urgent and clear, like a clap of thunder exploding in Su Luo's mind. She almost jumped from being startled. Su Luo had never seen the little stone this excited. Momentarily, she couldn't react. The little stone urged in an anxious tone. Quickly return to the bottom. If I didn't guess wrongly, whether we can kill Dongfang Xian or not will depend on this move. Actually so serious? Although Su Luo couldn't understand what the little stone had in his sleeves, but she still did what the little stone told her to do. But at this time, before Su Luo could jump into the Black Lake, Dongfang Xian's attack that rushed over with strong momentum had arrived. This time, it seemed as if Dongfang Xian was testing his own moves. He sent the exact strike from just now, and it smashed towards Su Luo's forehead. A clang noise resounded. Su Luo originally wanted to jump into the Black Lake. This move by Dongfang Xian was also forcing her into the Black Lake. Wasn't it just perfect? As a result, Su Luo beat him at his own game and sunk into the bottom of the Black Lake. But it happening like this again made Dongfang Xian flabbergasted. Was this move really so powerful and astonishing? Being released, it eliminated such a powerful existence. Then again, it eliminated Su Luo. If you must know, Su Luo was like a cockroach he couldn't kill. Time after time, she would tenaciously rise up. Dongfang Xian looked foolishly at his own pair of hands, the light in his eyes becoming increasingly hot. Su Luo jumped into the Black Lake, because of the little stone's command. Afterwards, she rushed forward in the direction the little stone pointed to. Seeing the little stone's tense little face and anxious expression, Su Luo couldn't help but teasingly say, "So there are times that you can also get excited, ah?" The little stone unhappily rolled his eyes at Su Luo and arrogantly curled his lips. "If it weren't for the fact that the contractor is too weak, how could I, this grandpa, take a fancy to such a weak ant-like existence?" Su Luo sked twice. Up ahead, they would arrive at the place he pointed to very soon. A white skeleton frame forming a human figure puppet laid quietly at the bottom of the lake. One only saw its pair of eyes opened into a circle, as if dying with remaining grievances. "Go over." Seeing Su Luo's footsteps had stopped, the little stone couldn't help but urge urgently. "You're certain there is no problem? Certain it wouldn't jump up?" Su Luo once again hesitated. Could it be you didn't discover that all the spirit force in its body had been consumed? Have you ever seen a battle god puppet who had consumed all their spirit force can jump up? The little stone grunted in displeasure. "Still won't quickly go up?" "I am telling you. Wait until Dongfang Xian clearly thinks through the secret within and chase after you. You will die for certain." "What are you talking about?" Su Luo was muddled by the little stone's jumping around logic. The little stone used the expression of looking at a fool to look at Su Luo. He stopped short of cursing her for being an idiot. Battle God Puppet has a very distinct trait. If the human race wants it to be a hired thug, then they must feed it enough food. Who feeds it will become its master. The little stone told her the secret. If it weren't for the little stone being a spirit that had lived for countless years, there really would be very few people who knew the Battle God Puppet's secret. Su Luo started to understand it somewhat. That is to say, if I go feed it now, then this Battle God Puppet would listen to me? Still haven't become extremely stupid. The little stone humped twice. But Su Luo frowned and looked at the Battle God Puppet laying in the bottom of the lake motionless with some doubt. She stroked her chin, her doubtful gaze shooting towards the little stone. "So easily slapped down by Dongfang Xian, you really think it's very strong?" You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.